I've been coming here since '94. Yeah. Bob Bailey still didn't have hair then, but I was still here in '94.
But I did.
So the line card's pretty big. We're doing Bradford White today, but if these other product manufacturers that we represent at Signature Sales piques your interest and we want to do another class down the road, keep these in mind.
Holy shit.
So hot water is just a commodity. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants it. When you don't have it, you're really upset. Worse than a parking space in your big truck. But a lot of people make water heaters. Bradford's proud to say a few things. We're made in America. When all those UAW workers in Michigan were out of work, when all the cars started being made in Tennessee, we hired all those folks. And we make everything in Michigan with UAW folks. And we've been doing this since 1881, 137 years. So we love making water heaters. Little picture of the plant, robots, tanks moving around, boxes. It'll have something on the box. Forgot I'm a two-handed presenter today. It'll say something like, built to be the best. They're proud of that statement. They put it on every box. So we're going to look at some installations, since this room is comprised with a lot of inspectors, great ones, and contractors. So I pulled these from a recent PowerPoint. So I think these might have been the good installs. Oh, here we go. This is some of Nick's work when he was in high school, before he got his license. Messing with you, Nick. No. So it says they installed the old draft diverter here instead of the one that came with the heater. That's a no-no. I don't know what this guy was about, why that picture's in here. Oh, my favorite. The Italian way to use the reducer. And by the way, Bradford White has been running for more than 4 decades. It's a privately held company run by Italians. So I'm not suggesting that if you don't buy Bradford White, Mo's cousin will pay you a visit. I'm just saying it could happen. Oh yeah, and then we got the infamous, put that leg down there. And then forget it. If you lost it, you really don't need it. Okay? It's just a suggestion. Yeah, you know about combustibility and clearances. And, this one, yeah. You can get the tarp from Home Depot. That is waterproofing in the chapters 5, I believe it is, Jim. Yeah.
Aisle 5, that is.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Any way to keep the water off my heater. Now, this was something new for me. I was not aware that by not properly installing a heater with a closed system, we insist on those expansion tanks, what happens when the tank expands? You'd think it'd get like Roseanne, go this way. But actually, as the seams and everything starts buckling, a sign of a expanded tank that's kind of gone south is the tank starts settling this way and things start caving in. Have you ever seen the nipples on it? Nick says, yeah, I've seen these. Okay. Yeah. We were talking about water heater nipples, right? Is that thing running?
Scratch.
We are we think we are, probably the only company with a 24/7 hotline. I think they close for Christmas about 3 hours. But the technical help in water heater world today is so different than when I was installing them in the 70s and 80s. Because back then it was just a flame lighting up a big steel vessel with glass lining. Now you have to go to Radio Shack school and have a multimeter to read the diagnostics. So if you have tech questions, this service is very helpful to the contracting world. Excessive water pressure, right out of the plumbing code. They talk about keeping it under 80 pounds, talking about expansion. When these anode rods, these sacrificial rods are passed around the room, there was a lot of fresh eyes on those going, you change that thing? You're supposed to change it? You mean I have to add an expansion tank? I had to do a troubleshooting job a couple years ago on a residential home, and when I went to inspect the heater, it had a new expansion tank, it had a drain pan, had all the new flexes on it, and the homeowner, the woman, this plumber charged me for all this extra stuff. It's like $400. I said, lady, that plumber was just following the code. He's trying to protect you, bitch. I mean, ma'am. So there's some sizing that goes into expansion tanks. You just don't buy one size, it fits all. It's based on the volume of hot water in the system. For example, a tankless heater doesn't require one unless you add a circulating loop. Now you've added volume to that hot water line. It's all in the instruction manual. Okay. Since I started in the water heater business 2011 and started reading the handouts and the install manual, I thought this expansion tank thing was really key to making the heater last longer. I also thought it was the biggest overlooked item in the contracting history that people don't do right. I don't even want to throw a number out here that 95% of them, maybe 90% of them are probably not done right. And so it's sort of like I put this on the system, so naturally I'm getting expansion, contraction, control. So I walked up to a very nice contractor. He owned the company, and I've seen his work. It is plumb, square, and level. It's beautiful. So I said, what you want to do, sir, no names here, I want you to hand this out to your guys, because I don't know if they all know this. You could purchase the expansion tank at a wholesale house. It's male 3/4 thread. You could put a female adapter on the cold water line. You could put some Teflon tape on that male adapter, and you could screw it in. That could be how everybody's doing it. All right? That's probably how a lot of them are doing it. I says, I don't know if they know all these rules. What are the rules, Ira? Well, let's start off with how much pressure is in your job. Pressure is not 60 pounds throughout Southern California, and it better not be over 80 pounds, or LA City's going to ask for a PRV valve. And I love the homes that are 15 years old, and they said, my pressure couldn't have gone up if I got a PRV valve. Yeah, you got a 15-year-old one full of calcium. So let's test the pressure. Now that we know what it is, we take the expansion tank that we purchase at the wholesale house, which by law they cannot fill up to a very high pressure. It might explode in the truck, they tell me, or something. So they put like 25, 28 pounds in it. So you're supposed to take the dude, check it, and then air it up. I put a little hand pump on there, a little foot pump for you guys. You can pump it up any method you have. Pump the expansion tank to the building pressure, whatever that may be. You may go 5 pounds over. That's okay. Then install the expansion tank on the cold water side. These steps are often not quite done that way. I've seen expansion tanks installed, pressurized, and then the guy takes the needle, he goes, yep, 70 pounds, it's good. You never inflated the bladder. So you're not really protecting that tank at all. And who has the time to do all this stuff when you're in the field? But this is key. With that anode rod, you do these two things, you may never buy another water heater from me again. So then there's the whole check the expansion tank. I found this to be interesting, that in maintenance, under troubleshooting maintenance, what do you do every year? Check the vent, make sure a blue jay hasn't nested up in there and blocked it, and check all the connections, make sure the dirt is out from under that burner, vacuum that stuff up. But I've never seen check your expansion tank while you're at it. You have to relieve all the pressure off the cold water side. I put my gauge on the drain of the water heater. I shut off the cold, and when that gauge says 0, I can now check the bladder. Question.
How long has the requirement or has
this been in place?
I'm a gas field guy. I'm the guy that goes and turn on the gas. I do training. And
right.
I've seen 200 water heaters in the last 3 weeks.
No expansion tanks.
2 expansion tanks. So how long is
the
this
question
required?
is regarding chapter 6, right, Jim? This, if I were to guess, has been in there for a dozen years or more. A dozen years or more. But you would have to read its entire paragraph to know that you had a closed system. Now, where I lived up north, before I had the pleasure of moving here 13 years ago, I was living in a flat rate water community. It was in the mid-90s. Been in the house since the 70s. And I could use as much water as I want. And the minute they came by and put a water meter on my house with a check valve, they created a closed system. And I had to pay for every drop of water. The very next day after they did that, I called up Larry Aker and bought a demand pump and quit wasting 15,000 gallons a year. Did Larry get that plug? Because he owes me something on that one. Yes.
That's a good point, though, that because there's some municipalities that have been installing meters with check valves, and none of the plumbers knew about it.
That's what I mean. I lifted the lid up of these boxes. I'm a curious guy, and I do know that typically with the meter there's a check valve, therefore creating a closed system. So, but in the old days, the water could go back and forth from your water heater back into the city main. Can't do that. So this excessive water pressure thing's been around a long time. David.
So in lieu of an expansion tank, we allow a 100-pound relief valve.
He makes a very good point. If you read this, it will say, use a approved type pressure regulator preceded by an adequate strainer, blah, blah, blah. But in this statement, an alternative method can be approved. And there's a couple of them out there. One,
Most people install 150.
I know he's making a great point.
And a lot of the guys are having problems getting a 100-pound because they got to order them all the time. They take 2 weeks to come in. Nobody stocks them. But
Actually, I was using, when you go to order these relief valves, and I used to represent Cash Acme, a 100-year-old relief valve company in Alabama. They make a 75, 100, and 125, and 150. And the reason we didn't do the 75 is sometimes our water can just perk up and it'd be dripping out there. So the 100 is the best choice. But he's absolutely right. My sister lives in Granada Hills, and right as the cold water enters that front door, I've seen that relief valve right by our house. So in lieu of this, yes, absolutely. And they even made a valve that had a relief valve built into it through Apollo. So there are other methods, but doing some relief is necessary.
now, just that, without installing the expansion tank, putting in the relief valve, does that do anything for the warranty of your water heater?
That brings up even a better point because I was promoting Apollo before they fired me with this great relief valve. And I said, hey, can't you use the relief valve? It's got a built-in spring on the ball valve. It was cute. It's all in one. It's got the relief valve, the main shutoff. It was great. And then some smart plumber, I hate those guys. He's in somewhere in LA. I'm visiting. He goes, all right, your water heater company doesn't endorse an alternative method. It just says do an expansion tank. It doesn't say or other means. So the code says yes. The water heater company says so until they come up to speed, and the water heater companies that are out there today, sometimes they don't get up to speed with the technology that's out there. They're just using the same old, same old. So you could get your inspector to say yes, and you'd be fine. And yet, if the water heater got expansion protection, it'd be great. And putting a tank on there and doing nothing isn't doing anything. So you're kind of at a catch-22. Yes, Jim?
I believe a couple things. I believe that when that first came out on the expansion tank and they gave you the option of relief valve, it said unengineered systems.
Yeah, he's right. He's
And
right.
Also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this came out with expansion tanks in the 2003 code, the one that Schwarzenegger.
You're right. We
did
went from
adopt,
01
so
to
we didn't have
06.
a code for
I don't own the
6
03.
years.
Yeah, I didn't own the 03
Yeah.
because we never adopted it.
Right.
And there was a few things that snuck in that 03 that showed up in 06. And you go, when did that happen?
Yeah.
I had one of those the other day. You had a question, or were you
Well, no,
scratching?
I was just thinking, isn't it, if you have the space, isn't it easier just put an expansion tank and run a drain from your relief valve?
No, what David's saying is you got your cold water out there anyway. Just stick a T in there and put the relief valve and let it bleed outside. Pretty simple.
Oh, just further down the line.
When it first comes in. Yeah, when it first comes in.
You gotta have a relief valve anyway. It's got a relief valve.
So I created this handout to get back to my story talking to that owner of a major plumbing company that plumbed everything square, plumb, and level, right? I said, here, give this to your guys.
It's not supposed to be though.
He looks at it, he goes, I didn't know that. The owner didn't know that. 'Cause he's not supposed to be out there plumbing too much. But this is, to me, probably not being done. Okay, so what do we have in advantages? I told you it's a commodity. Everybody makes them. Everybody needs hot water. But what is Bradford White, a 137-year-old company run by an Italian family in Philadelphia? I forgot to mention the Philly part. What do they do different? Well, they invented hydrojet, which somebody took a dip tube and poked a bunch of holes in it, and it stirs up the water and it keeps the sediment. Sediment's still coming in if you don't have water scale reduction, but just stirring it up keeps it from stacking up on the bottom. Helps stratification of hot water. That's pretty cool. They invented Vitriglass. I'm going to get up here to double check this. Yeah, 1951. It was a hell of a good year for kids. They take the Vitriglass, they line it, they heat it up, they put it on like everybody uses glass lining. But they do this spark test where they take something in front of it, they measure the steel under the glass. They don't want that steel coming through and have holes in the glass to where, so they measure it and they check for any passages that migrate through. And they make sure it's done really well. And that's a real good protector on your tank besides your anode rod, your expansion tank. You want a good glass lining. And then when you make a water heater, it's pretty simple. You saw the assembly line. You got the big sheet coils. They roll it together. They put a robotic seam on it. Then you got to put a top and a bottom on it. Then you weld that all up. Well, right there at the T, where those two intersect, and you have expansion, because they're just buying them and installing them. They didn't put them in right. That's a good place for that expansion to go south. So they came up after years of watching heaters come back to the factory, check them. That's a good place to add another well. So they added another well, top and bottom right there. And then the burners. Air Quality Management District in Southern California, also known as SQUAMAD, also known as the German, no, let's not go there. But when they had to adapt to those flame-resistant sealed chambers, 90s, right in the 90s maybe, you had to seal the whole chamber because some nut stuck a can of gasoline next to his water heater, boom, and now all of a sudden we're raising water heaters on platforms, we're sealing the combustion chamber, keeping people from blowing themselves up. And when they did that, they didn't know how to do it because they had this open burner system before, just all the air got in there. So one thing that Bradford White found out was in the bottom of the burner where the air comes in, a lot of people were just doing a small screen over the burner. Bradford goes, let's just make that whole thing mesh. Get lots of air in there. Because when we got calls that heaters didn't work, it was there full of dust, and the smaller the opening to the bottom caused it to go out. So they tried to make it last the longest. Just another benefit. Piping. How many contracting trainings I've done where you have multiple heaters and they can't quite figure out, the best way to pipe them. Now the simplest way, but the hardest, would be just use parallel piping. Go down between two objects, put a T in the middle, exactly dead center. You're measuring with your tape measure exactly 22.5 between the pipes here, And so I had to go out to an airport job out by LAX. There were 4 or 5 heaters in a row. So let's follow this cold water main. First one in, last one in. Okay, first one in. So where's the water coming from? Cold water's coming from that way. Okay, we'll say that's east. Where do you think the hot water needs to go? East. Where's this hot water going? West. Well, that's stupid. I'm going to put a 90 here, and I'm going to put my T over there because that's where the hot water is in the Hilton Hotel. Isn't that what I'm thinking as a plumber? Okay, I just short-cycled the path of least resistance. Water comes in, water goes right back to the hotel. This down here, this guy, he's falling asleep from boredom. And he's going to wear that first heater out first. So I go out to this Hilton Hotel, 4 or 5 heaters. And I see the guy has plumbed it that way. And I says, I can't warranty this job. Why not? Because you didn't follow the diagram on page 52. It's not me kicking your ass. It's this damn instruction book.
That's right.
Okay? He says, look, Ira, I followed the rule of engineering. It's first one in, first one out. Right, Zero? First one in, first one out. No. First one in is first one out, and go pick up your friends. Then make a U-turn. That was a simple communication debate that didn't go well. I mean, we got it fixed, but in other words, first one in, first one out. It's a matter of opinion. I was in Kansas City giving a presentation at the ASPE chapter, and there was a guy in the audience wanting to know, he wanted me to promote my product, but it was a neutral presentation. I can't do it. And he tried to ask me a planted question like, isn't your stuff better than everybody else? And I says, I can't discuss that. We're in an open forum here, folks. But I could give you a parallel that might make it easier for you to understand. He goes, what's that? I says, okay, you're trying to get a date on the internet. And all you put in is woman, blonde hair, 5'6". See how that turns out for you. We're going to go over, is it good? Oh. We're going to go over the commercial series called The Commander. This is your basic commercial heaters. I wasn't going to put up everything in my list, just the stuff that comes up every day. This is your basic B-vent type heater. Everybody buys these things. And the Commander, what I thought was interesting, if this clicker works, there we go. It's ultra low NOx, it's 82%, it's your basic commercial heater. There's your 82%. No factory mounted dampers to worry about, and space saving footprint, all the cool stuff. This is where we're going to get into it. You got your hydrojet. This is a down-fired burner commercial heater. Most commercial heaters heat from the bottom up. Only the high efficiencies heat from the top down, but this one heats from the top down. And oddly enough, because it does that, it allows to bring air in case the room was dirty, polluted, laundry room, greasy McDonald's. You could stick this in a closet and then bring your own air in. I think I have this slide. No, maybe I didn't put it up. But there's an air intake on it, and most B-vent type heaters don't have air intake. This happens to have one. Comes in 125,000 to 400,000, 82% efficient. And there we go, ductable air intake. Good luck finding any ABS made to ASTM 2661. I wish they'd almost take that off there since you can never find it. Just don't offer ABS in the list, and hopefully the plumbers won't try to buy that because they just read first three letters. Hey, I can use ABS. It said right there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Since that's an air intake, does the ASTM change?
Well, in other words, ABS comes in ASTM F691 and it comes ASTM D2661. So if you go further in the install manual, around page 52 or so, it will actually tell you the ASTM numbers you're supposed to buy. It won't just say, go get some ABS and good luck if Jim comes on your job and it's the wrong one. Because I looked at an install the other day and it was ASTM 1785, which is absolutely perfect, solid core, all that stuff. Yeah, so there's different ASTMs. Yes, sir.
One more question on that. So that particular, it's a, they're saying that's going to be, it's going to be a direct vent appliance at that point?
No, it isn't. It's an interesting comment, though. I consider direct vent an intake air heater. Maybe we could call it that because the real heaters I grew up with were really called direct power vent. So it was powered out and directed in. These are atmospheric out, but air intake in. So it's a terminology.
You still have to have combustion air in that?
No, if it has the intake air, it substitutes for the combustion air on an air intake type heater. But most B-vent heaters aren't air intake type. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Now, you do have top and side connections, which is real handy on remodels, because some heaters come into the side, some are on the top. You get both options here. There's optional side connections for space heating. And there's all this cool control setting your set point. There's 10 diagnostic codes. It saves the last 10 error codes. If it had error codes, it would save the last 10 for you to go up there. Actually, I got called out in Hollywood to look at a boiler job, and we felt the pipe. It wasn't very hot. And I go over, there's a big red light in the boiler, error code. Thing's not running. You got to fix the air. It's got a flow switch problem or something else, and the guy thought I was a genius. You fixed my hot water problem. Yeah, I'm paid way too much for some of these skills. Oh, we already did Victor gas. Okay, we don't need to repeat that. This is a 2-pass flue system, meaning it goes through several passes of steel through the power down burner, and by the time it leaves the flue, it's dissipated the heat into the water. Oh, look, I didn't know I had Steven Spielberg shit going on. Okay. Second pass goes through the 2-inch flues. The first one's an 8-inch flue. That's the 2-pass system. You're probably expecting a commercial from an insurance company about now to come up. Okay, there's your power burner, and there's your air intake attached to that power burner. Wow, this is cool. I just did this, but I haven't really reviewed it. I was going to do it today. Through the wall and through the roof. You caught that. They said you were old, but you still got it.
And they were both right.
Noisy? Are these the pulse type burners or?
No, but the question Larry's asking about is anytime you put a blower on a heater, there's going to be some noise. So Neville, don't put it in the kitchen, okay, dude? Okay. Yeah, this has a decimal sound. If I was going to say 55 dBs, somewhere in there, but typically these are all in a mechanical room, and when I'm called out to ask about noise, the return pumps and other stuff squealing so loud I can't even hear my burner. But yeah, it's going to have some noise. Like, you know, your refrigerator has a compressor in it, so when you go in there for the imported beer, you're all of a sudden hearing that.
Well, after 6 or 7 imported beers, I don't hear that.
I didn't say that. He did. He did. Now, here's your high efficient ones a lot of people buy today to save gas. They're trying to be more green, save the dollars per cubic foot of gas, and more importantly, how these are vented with your power direct vent question. These have so many more options. You got the 2 sizes, they're both the same width. Got a 60 gallon up to 100 gallon. And I like, again, Bradford White's just making water heaters by an Italian family in Michigan. But they said, you know what? When we got to access all this stuff on top, what is this stuff? I got a gas valve, I got the power burner, I got the computer board, I've got some vacuum switches and all this stuff that will eventually, you know, be up on the air code if it happens. I got to get to it. You don't even have to grab your 9-in-1 Lennox screwdriver that I represent. You just pop these latches and the whole shroud thing comes off. Just another way Bradford's going, you know, let's make it easy to work on if you have to. And of course, lots of applications. Isn't that a kitchen, Nick? I don't want to
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I had to go out to an anonymous campus with a huge hood in it, and they bought the Commander heater, okay? The heater that requires air to draft properly. And there's a louver on the door, because LA City wanted a louver on the door, high and low. And we brought a candle with us, a candle lighter. We set it next to the flue, and it went out. Yeah, the hood is sucking out of the room, 1,000 CFM. The makeup air is bringing in 100. We're losing this war. And the engineer who called me and said, your heaters aren't working. I said, by the way, who picked an atmospheric heater for a kitchen? The campus wanted them. If I say, Soskin, you know where I get a good deal on tires? And he says, Ira, there's a great recap company in Long Beach. I'm going to ignore him. I'm not going to go, sure, I'll go buy an atmospheric heater for a kitchen. The EF would have solved this problem. This thing not only didn't vent, and they couldn't fix the makeup air, they solved it by boosting the exhaust with one of those fancy fans, Turrigens. They got it to work, but they had to patch it instead of just putting the right heater.
Ira, can I just point out, go back one second?
Yes, sir.
For anyone that's mechanical or does anything in kitchens, these grills up here, these are your makeup air. The worst thing about it is when they get done cooking, they put their food on the shelf. This air goes out, gets sucked back in, cools the food.
So they
You don't
turn them
want
off?
that.
Oh, yeah.
You want the kind that just blows straight down.
That's a good
Okay?
point. It's a good point. But in other words, when you're picking out a heater, sometimes based on cost, the Commander is less expensive than this, but not when you got problems, not when you got dirty air, you got grease. You want to pick the right heater for the application. So these can all be power vented. So if I have atmospheric air, I have room air, I comply with Chapter 5. I don't need anything but power vent. I just got to push that air a long ways out. I just need a power vented heater. But if I need both input and output exhaust, that's direct vent. That's the word direct that Ben brought up. And of course, concentric vent kit just has kits where you can tie 2 pipes into one 2-in-1 deal so you don't poke more holes in the owner's roof or sidewall. This guy has the downfire burner, 3-pass heat exchange, the hydrojet included again, icon controls, up to 99% thermal efficiency. These are fully condensing. I did walk a job the other day, had condensing heaters on it. They hadn't finished connecting the condensate, and the floor sink's right there, and I'm with the big general, and I says, I don't see the condensate hooked up. I wonder if they'll put a neutralizing kit on it. What's that? Well, it'll keep that Charlotte Pete trap from going south in a few years. If you do that, send me a picture of that, Ira. I want to make sure they put that in. That's often left off on the plans. And somebody said, well, why don't you just put them in all your heaters? Because in Florida, I'm running down a PVC pipe. I don't need to do that. So cast iron and condensate don't marry up well, but neutralizing kit will make it better. Icon controls, we can sell them in Canada and make them centigrade. Close up of the burner. There's the cool latch to pop it open to get to that thing.
That's a cool latch.
It's a very cool latch. I think we stole it from Samsonite. Are they still in business? Those Italians, Mo, they just do good stuff.
I think that gorilla beat him up.
Sequence of operation. Here we go. So the first pass goes down the middle at about 2,000 degrees. It comes back up at 1,100. It goes then through the second pass in the collector where the temperature has now been reduced down to 500. Then it hits the third pass before it enters the PVC elbow with the condensate connection. And now we're down to 120, a safe temperature to use plastic pipe. Power vent, that's just where you're venting only out the side, not you're using intake air from the room with proper louvers and the proper square inches. I don't have enough room air, I'm going to bring the air in. Roof or sidewall. Whoops, what's that say? Unbalanced. Unbalanced simply means I might have more going that way than that way, and some heaters prohibit you from going unbalanced for more than 20 to 30 feet, but I think ours doesn't have a limit on that. Same kind of thing, 120, you saw the short heater, that's a 60 gallon, and the tall ones are 100. Again, 125,000 to 400,000 at this time. They'll probably be adding another one to the lineup, maybe 2. They just got to get through SquaMad and pay those guys off. I'm not really, definitely. American made, wholesale only. Bradford White has these 3 flags. I think we'll call them a flag. They represent something. I didn't know that until I came to work for them. All right, here's what it represents. That's us. That's Middleville, Michigan. And then the middle flag, that's where we distribute through professional wholesalers. And we want them installed by a contractor. This is an appliance. It could kill someone. You don't want some Rube Goldberg, Tim the Tool Man putting it in. So they preach American made. Too much, Jim? Okay. He's laughing at me. I can't tell. Okay. There's a whole class on heat pumps, but this is coming out now. We got to get off this fossil fuel in California. We got to quit burning up the atmosphere, Al Gore. So we've got heat pump technology that goes up about 325% now. And they're really residential heaters, but we got one right here at Long Beach State. It's a small job. It's 80 gallons, and we have 50. But if you just had a small commercial need for hot water and you didn't want to run flue and gas, but you wanted to meet Title 24 heat pump's gonna get you in the door. And there's a whole class we could do on heat pump technology. There's the little guy, no, residential heat pump. Yeah, I guess that's it. They hid the compressor right there. I was looking for this different colored top. Again, this is the first time I've seen this presentation. Okay, electric heaters. This baffled me when I got in the heater business back in 11, because they're just electric. That's just non-gas, right? No. We got light duty for your office building. We got medium duty for, Jimmy John's and some more intense use. And then we got serious heavy duty, your major buildings, your hospitals, everything. So there isn't just one electric heater for the application. And I know this drives the design community nuts because they just say electric, kilowatts, phase, voltage. Let's just get this one. But we actually do put names on ours, light duty, medium duty, heavy duty. And that may help distinguish what is your application. Just like in copper, we have M, L, and K. Code says just put M in everywhere. Why do your commercial buildings have L in them, Jim? Because this engineer said to do it that way. It's not, code's a minimum document. So just some of the electrical issues that have come up. Since it's electric and not gas, there's phase, there's voltages, there's kilowatts. You put those three things at the hometown buffet, you're going to get something screwed up. The electrical guy, he told me I had 208. I mistaken, it was 277. And it wasn't single phase, it was three phase. Can you convert this in the field? Yes. You have to purchase a kit, you have to change some elements, you have to move some wires around, but it can be done. That's why it's called flexible, electric flex. We can move things around. Now, one thing you can't move around, you do a job over at that guy with the big ears, what's his name? Disney? Mickey. They love ASME certified heaters, which would be on Camp Pendleton, schools, state jobs. Those are custom made, just like Burger King. You order it, we'll make it, delivered in a few weeks. That's an ASME certified welder. We don't ship him down to the job and weld the tank in front of you. So those you have to order on time. And I didn't know this back in 11, but if Andy's doing a job and designing something, and he happens to run across this ASME heater in my book, and he goes, I got a replacement heater going over here at, the Google factory. Google doesn't really care about ASME probably, it's just a warehouse. And he happens to pick an ASME heater, the contractor's gonna call, and our plumbing's gonna say, why does it take 3 weeks to get a simple heater? Because it was ASME. If it was non-ASME, we got them in stock.
Ira, what's the cost difference between ASME and non-ASME?
Oh, that's easy. 1,500 dinero. No, I mean, it's got a certified welder. They use possibly a little more steel, Steve. Yeah, a little heavier steel welder. But you're paying money. You're getting a few benefits that the state and those people want. But it's only when it's required that, you put that on the job, which again, state, fed. I don't read the administrative law of the specs, but it's in there if it's in there. That's why I found out Disney loves that stuff.
There's a lot more options available on an ASME heater that may not be available on a medium.
On a standard heater, yeah.
Last longer?
Well, with the heavier steel. But then when you're putting it on a serious job that gets a lot of use, maybe not, but we never discuss mortality at these meetings, Larry. Let's just let that one go. Good? Okay. 98%. I got this question yesterday from a large engineer in Orange County. There's a form, you go to this special directory where our heaters are certified. They tell you the loss of heat, gas, or electric per hour. And somehow this new website that's this major directory stopped putting the thermal efficiency on the web, on our ticket. But when I told you my best gas heater was 98% over 82, you thought that was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Electric, that's just okay. The heat pump's 325, even though they're not commercial. So 98's good, but it's not good enough for the state who wants to go higher.
So Ira, that 2% of thermal efficiency, is that the losses out the
Yeah, the jacket. It's so little because there's no flue pipe for the gas to go out because it's electric. So that's why it's so efficient and being electric. And then you got different, here's your conversion kits. So when you go to order kit, you go into the table and you say, okay, I went from 277 to 208, I went from 480 to this one, and I went from single to triple phase, whatever it is. You got to order the right kit. There's some new laws coming out that prohibit us selling anything over 12 kW, Steve, in a certain model. In other words, they're going to make you ramp up and buy the more medium duty heater, not the light duty. So you can't buy a very light tank and put super bunch of kW in it. Some new regulation. We don't write them, folks. We just sell them. Hydrojet again. Great Hydrojet. Vitro glass lining.
Ira, another question. Go back. You saw the 3-inch insulation.
Yes.
You know, Title 24, they always ask us that in our forms, and we never know where the hell to find that.
That's on the form, and this is great point. Not on the Title 24 request. It says what is it, and that's only because this is a heavy duty heater. It's probably not 3 inches on my medium. I often fill out that form and say R16, and nobody ever yells back at me. Okay, that's what we wanted to know, and nobody's ever disputed that.
So
I don't know.
3-inch R16 or?
I put R16, and some guy goes, "Yeah, that sounds good." It's not R8, and I get away with it. Yes.
You can also go to the AHRI website.
That's the one that's not telling me the foam. Is it an R number?
Most of the questions.
Is it an R number? That's the new site I've been going to, and they give me the pressure loss. I mean, the temperature loss, the standby loss. They stopped putting up efficiency numbers. But
Okay,
yeah,
guys, as a design engineer, you know what I'm talking about. What website do we gotta go look for to
the
find this
AHRI.
information?
Yeah, AHRI is the director of all water heaters. Everybody's heaters in there.
Yeah, but can't we just go to yours? Why isn't this
The
in
best
catalog?
question I ever got was, why don't you guys just put it on the spec sheet?
Yes.
Well, now that I know the Italian guys in Philadelphia, I've got a hotline now that I can make those recommendations.
I would just give us a call. We'll get it.
Guys, let me tell you something. Right now, everyone's doing 16 things at once. Now we gotta put that on the list?
Yeah. So, inch and a half connections, elements. I get this a lot in electric. Okay, I wasn't going to throw this in, but now it comes up a lot. I don't know whether I need simultaneous or non-simultaneous. As Mo would say, forget about it. It has nothing to do with what you need. If you need 10 kW, I'm going to wire the heater two ways. A 10 on top and a 10 on the bottom, and I'm not going to run them at the same time. I do the top first. That's when the hot water leaves the tank, so I need to satisfy that level of the tank first. And then when that's satisfied, my thermostat says, now start working on the bottom. Why do you think bottom water heater elements go out first, NIR? They work the hardest. Okay? So I'm going to put a 10 and a 10 if I need 10 kW, and I'm going to do them non-simultaneous. I got certain heaters that don't get over 6 kW in the element choice, but that if I do simultaneously wiring, and you say I need 10, but your elements only go up to 6, and I want 10, then I'm going to wire it with a 5 and a 5 and turn them on at the same time. So it's just tell me how many kW you want based on your recovery rate, and forget how I wired the tank in Michigan. It's not a factor. And when you turn on the top, then the bottom, guess what? The recovery is the same if I turn them both on or one at a time. Did that help? Maybe. And when it says ASME available, that's not included. It's available. Do you want it or not want it? So if you think it's coming that way, oh, it's available, I'll just order this heater. No, it has to be on the PO.
Ira, another question.
Sure.
So Disney or Mickey Land or whatever, and government wants ASME construction.
Definitely.
Do you notice in the specs if the thermal expansion tanks are also ASME constructed?
I love that question because I know about Amtrol since I don't sell expansion tanks for a living, and I keep the app right in my phone. So if I have to look up a tank for somebody says, Ira, do you know what size expansion tank I need since you're the water heater guy? I go, yeah, for your volume you need the 14 gallon. And do you think I need ASME? If it's an ASME job, I would definitely do that. And also, when you get certain size expansion tank, you agree with this? They automatically become an ASME when they get so big. They don't make a small they don't make a small ASME as much. Once you get in that ASME, you're also in the big league, using a lot of water, and it's probably a 14, 20. Any of those big tanks are typically ASME, primer red. Yeah, look at all these voltages to choose from. And the guys, oh yeah, I meant 277, not 208. No, do you have 480? I meant to tell you that. It's in. I opened the box and took it out, and then I read it. Can I take this back? No. What? I'm not Amazon. I ordered it special for you. You do know that, Tour, right? Don't ask me to take that back. I'll take you to lunch, but I'm not taking your heater back.
You need to give us the correct voltage, right?
We'll do it correct the first time. So 50, 80, or 120 gallon, up to 54 kW. I go bigger than this for some monster ones out at LAX. Those get into the 100 kWs.
Wow.
Love those jobs.
Does anybody know why it's 119 gallons?
Yeah, let's talk about that because I get that a lot.
Or 119.9?
Yeah.
One day.
There's a law, a definition somewhere that, and they asked me that just this week, and it'll say if you go over
It
119,
deals with what you were just talking about.
the
2 minutes
ASME
ago.
rating,
Yeah.
it forces you to go into that higher rating and higher cost. So that's
ASME
why,
is standard on 120 gallon and above.
yeah,
No, that's incorrect.
say it right, and you only have a minute.
Technically, it's 120 gallon, above 120 gallon, above 200.
Yeah, well, the BTUs, yeah.
Yeah.
200,000
Yeah.
BTUs.
Oh yeah, the BTU
Just
kicks
to
it in if it isn't the tank size.
Prevent confusion, either from the inspector or whoever. Everybody stops at 199 and everybody stops at 119. And the other thing is, California's an ASME state. That's why you talk about government,
Yeah.
but they don't enforce. But a government
Oh.
job, they do.
Okay, that's a good point.
So, I'm curious what the inspectors would say, because, say, Arizona, they do enforce, and everything is ASME that gets above the 200,000 BTU.
Steve worked for a water heater company, I can't remember their name, in '85, and so he's been in the heater business a long time. And I was on a job at Camp Pendleton, and the only thing that sort of tells you ASME is there's this A in the serial number, just a letter A. And I went down there to start up a nice solar job, and I always look at the rating plate. Oh my God, there's no A. I guess nobody caught that. But I would have assumed Pendleton would have wanted that, but like he said, guy checked the water temperature, everything else. He didn't look at the rating plate, and thank goodness he didn't write the guy up and tell him to rip it out and go get another heater. Wow, there's your conversion kit parts. Another thing comes up often, Nick, is how many elements do you put in that tank? Really? You want to know? Because on a little tiny heater, there's only one element in it, okay? When you get 30 gallon up, we put a couple in it. When you get a lot of volume, we've got up to 6 elements in there. You know, so it just varies on how many kilowatts you're going to do.
So let me ask you, will that work as a redundancy? Like say you got 6 elements, right?
No, that's what he's going down, and I am interrupting because I think I know where you're going. We talked about upper, lower as residential heaters. Correct, Steve? Residential. But when we do multiple elements, they're all sort of on, but there's a controller on them that if we're heating 60-degree temperature, now right now I'm hypothetically guessing, when I did LAX, we had 6 elements in there, and they all came on at once when we were at 60, and as we got closer to the set point of 120, the elements were coming off. Does that make sense?
Well, you can step them.
You can step them, but I do believe they don't keep 60 kW charging on that temperature. And I saw them step down and they'll light up. There's a cool board that'll show how many elements are running. And when you get within 5 degrees, they step down. But they're all coming on in those
That's
multiple
great.
tanks.
Well, let me ask you, so you say you got 54 total KW, 6 elements,
Yes,
whatever.
they're
that
all
is.
coming on.
So if they're all on, you got 54 KW. There's no.
Yeah, they'll divide that by 6.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so there's no.
9
redundancy.
kWs each.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's 6 kW each. I think there's 9 in that.
The 54 is
No, we
9.
can't.
They're 9 kWs each.
No, 9 elements.
9 elements at 6
And
KW.
your
If you look at
trifocals
an
on that, right?
element KW, that's not a number of elements.
9 elements, you're saying there, okay, and there's 9 times 6.
Yeah.
Okay, I did really bad in algebra, but this I got.
5
Yes,
minutes.
you got it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I'm coming up on the
Okay.
question part. There's questions.
Say, twin brother on there?
I like to mention, we've had some water heaters wired up within 2 days. We call it up, 2 days we have it. So
Oh yeah, when you buy a stock heater, they're stock, but the ASME are, you couldn't possibly
Custom.
guess at the right voltage and all that stuff. So those are made to order, an ASME, from our factory. I'll open the floor to questions. Mr. Dimmitt.
Your little point about checking in the air, I used to keep a little power gauge in my shirt pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And before I go out on a final, I would tell them, I'm gonna check the pressure in there because they usually come about 40 PSI.
They're even less. But again, unless we drain the
Invariably, they
tank,
wouldn't have it pumped up.
unless we drain the tank and take the city pressure off that thing, you just see the pressure in the tank, but not where the bladder is. It's like drinking coffee in here. You don't know where your bladder is. Any other questions? David.
On a replaced water heater install, vent connection to an existing transite pipe,
Oh, the transite, the asbestos.
is Bradford White okay with that?
Bradford White would like to say we're in the water heater business and not the vent pipe business, and how you vent it should meet NFPA. And they've told me that, like in the old days, I could find in my install manual some installation on venting, and it was about putting 2 flues into one. I said, Michigan, where's the book? He goes, NFPA, or just follow it. We don't like code, we just make the freaking heater. And in Italian, it is a freaking heater. That's what they call it. So, anything, good stuff though, but yeah, they want you to follow the code. And if we know what chapter 5, Neville, what's going on, man? Is it okay? Need more juice? So yeah, you're gonna have to follow, and Jim knows about old LA and pipes that are existing. You're not gonna rip out an entire Biltmore hotel and revent the thing. So you're gonna make some exceptions in chapter 3. All right.